Does the weather have you stuck inside? Are you tired of doom scrolling? Here's a solution. Let's paint! What's up, peeps? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen, and you've made it over to Copper Cactus DIY, where I share furniture art, faux finishing, and decorative painting. And I keep things real, sharing my wins and my epic fails. In today's video, I am fixing all my mistakes on this faux finish, and I'm giving it a brand new faux wood grain that you are not gonna believe. So if you like furniture refinishing, furniture painting, furniture artistry, and the rest, especially faux finishing, then stick around because I'm getting started on this project right meow. I used standard dish soap, some warm water, and just a regular old rag, and gave this just a thorough clean down. It didn't need a lot. It was pretty dusty, but it's never really had food on it or anything, so it didn't have a lot of grime. I wiped everything down with a clean wet rag and I left it to dry. Let's talk about why I want to do this in the first place. It might look pretty good because you can see some of this tonality in here, like the oranges and the purples and stuff. The color itself, oh, so good. And I think the glaze color for the overglazing, also really good. The unfortunate reality is that I was a little heavy-handed with the check roller, and so now those just look too uniform. It's not selling it to me, and I'm usually, I know, my harshest critic, but for sure I have an example of something that looks way better than this, which is what I'm gonna do, and that is my TV cabinet. Well, what I'm using is my TV cabinet and book storage. Hey, guess who wrote that? That's me, but I digress. This one is much better. You can see the graining is about the same, but this check roller, I went a lot better with heavier spots or places where natural wood would actually have that kind of graining, and I tried to avoid any like uniformity in the patterning. So this is going to be my example of how I want to redo the top on here. So I also want to do the base. I'm going with darker base stuff in all of my furniture in my office now, so I'm just going to paint that black. To paint the base of this piece, I am using this chalkboard paint. It is a matte black finish, and it is like a chalkboard, so it will show scuffs if you bump into it before you top coat it. But this paint takes wax and top coat beautifully. It's also really solid as far as a color goes, and I love using this, so I've been using it for quite a while for anything that I've been painting black, and it's held up awesome, even on furniture that I use all the time. To apply it, I'm using this 1.5 inch angled putty, and I just put some of it in this old lid. That way I don't get any like chunkiness or anything back into the paint container. There's only one small edge of this piece that doesn't show when it's upside down, so I tilted this over onto kind of its side, held it with one hand, and then got that small edge on the top of the stringer. Once that was done, this whole thing had one solid coat. I left it to dry overnight and then came back to do a second coat the next morning, but I didn't film that. In order to achieve the look of this cabinet, I need to get this khaki color, and unfortunately I am out of this color in set coat. So I'm mixing into my Frankenpaint, and I'm going to come up with a color that's semi-close. Unfortunately, the only blue that I have on hand for tint is like a purple tinted blue, so this went a lot more Kelly than I wanted it to, and I can't mix in any more yellow or brown, or this is basically just going to be tint. I need to have some paint in my tint. So funny too, I wanted to show you the sample board because the sample board that I am using, I'm painting right over the finish that I originally sampled for this piece for the top. So kind of, again, little bittersweet memories here that are going on in all my projects, but I've got a ton of this paint now and it looks decent on this sample board. It's a nice solid coat, so I'm gonna get with painting 2 coats of this on the top. But after getting the perfect finish with that black, there was no way I wasn't gonna protect that, because I know myself and my flingy abilities. I used some plastic that has tape attached, and I put that around all 4 sides, making sure to adhere it pretty well underneath the lip so that it would definitely be like a tight seal. I got my first coat of this tinted bonding paint on camera, and I left it to dry for about 3 hours. I did the second coat off camera, and then I left it to dry overnight. Then it was time to start the faux wood grain. So I'm trying to match my TV cabinet, like I said, which means I'm going for a black walnut inspired faux. If you've been watching me for a while, then you know I've done faux wood a bunch of times on my channel. But I wanted to ask you all if you'd be interested in a full-length, uncut version of this process. I filmed all of this in real time this time, just in case you'd be interested in something specific related to undergraining, like I'm laying down in this clip. Or specifics on any of the next 3 processes that I do in this finish. I could explain any or all of those in greater detail, from the through grain to the check roller to the final toning glaze. I would love to know if there are any of you interested in a more meaty tutorial. Leave me a comment and let me know. For the undergraining on this piece, I want elements of purple and orange as if they're embedded in the wood. That's sometimes common in black walnut, plus I also need the common brown grain that you sometimes find in black walnut as well. This coat will establish my graining patterns and the general flow. It took me about 25 minutes to finalize this layer, then I left it to dry for about 24 hours. I used the walnut shade and I mixed in just a little hint of red universal tint. So this way it's a little bit more of a chocolate brown and can help to balance out some of this green tone. And I'm just going to apply it with this 2-inch purdy. Tapping in. I want it pretty saturated at the ends, but not a lot more. And then just straight grain it up. Save that for a while. I'll leave this for probably about an hour. You can see it's drying a lot faster than the first coat. That's because there's so much less glaze in this mix. This is much more about the tint. So hopefully, like I said, it'll help balance things out, enhance a little bit on here. And then my next step is the check roller. I actually came back to this the next morning. I had done this pretty late in the day, so it was about 12 hours or so that it ended up drying overnight. When I use the check roller, especially if I really wanted to have this super realistic look, like wood graining, I need to use that check roller before this layer has fully cured, because my goal is to get this check roller, which is metal, to kind of slice through the top layer, the top skin of this glaze coat. The glaze coat is dry, it's just not fully cured yet. When you use the check roller in this way and you kind of like pounce it into the glaze coat underneath, it actually creates almost the appearance of a concave wood graining. It gives so much more realism, especially when you see this from the side angle, and I'm going to try to capture some of that in the beauty shot, so make sure you stay tuned because they're coming up in just a couple of minutes. This check roller took me about 15 minutes, thereabouts, to get exactly the look that I was going for, and I was much more minimal with this. In fact, as I'm doing this, I'm gonna flash up really quick on the screen a picture of the original finish from when I first started painting this bench. Can you believe it? Nope, neither can I. Like I said, this took about 15 minutes. I finished it, and then I did leave this to dry and fully cure for about 48 hours. And then I did my final layer, which is a toning glaze. I'm actually using a glaze that's sort of orange leaning. It probably doesn't look it on camera, but that's because of the colors that are underneath it and how it's all kind of interacting together. This is leaning a little bit orange brown, and it's really heavy on the glaze. So the color that you see coming out right here will dry down significantly lighter. It's just going to help to give an overall appearance of the same tone. So I use a foam brush to apply that, and then I left this to dry for another 24 hours. Once things dried, it was time to apply my first coat of top coat. I'm doing 3 total on the top, and I'm starting off with this flood coat of Varathane's Triple Thick in a satin finish. This top coat dries crystal clear, and it will self-level in the right conditions, as well as if it doesn't get overworked. I like using this as a barrier coat for my dead flat varnish so that the faux doesn't flatten out and then it'll appear lifeless. This just keeps a little bit of a float coat between those two things and allows it to keep some of its integrity below the top coat. This dried for about 48 hours before I got to that flat coat. Sound. Okay, let's get this up there. Oh, let's pull plastic first, maybe. Ooh, snazzy. Look it. Snazzy snapkins. I like it together. I flipped this thing onto its top, but I put it on a debris-free, brand spanking new clean pillowcase. Then I gave one solid coat of Varathane's triple thick, clear matte finish to the base. Like I said, I want the faux to have a dead flat sheen as if it were real unfinished wood. So I gave a generous but not a flood coat of Modern Masters dead flat varnish to the top, ends, and sides of the top only. While I apply this final coat, I want to thank you for being here and watching. I'm having a blast making videos and doing furniture art again, and I love that you're all here to take part in my adventure. If you're watching but not subscribed, you can do that for free below. Also, consider giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. All interaction is helpful in getting my videos seen, and that support helps me to keep making content for you. So, thanks! Speaking of doing my job, I'm finally settled in and open for commission work again, now in the upstate New York region, so hit me up on Instagram if you want to start talking about a quote. Before and after shots are coming up next, so hold on tight. But that's all the work I've got for you today, so thanks again for being here and watching. Later, peeps!